There is only one court lady in the official annals of the Joseon dynasty recorded specifically as ugly. In a royal palace overflowing with renowned beauties, a lowly maid with a plain face and advancing age completely dominated the king of Joseon. Her real name was Gae-si, a common and crude name given to peasant children in hopes of a long life. Recorded in history as Kim Gae-si, this woman controlled the entire government as a mere senior court lady, never even receiving an official title as a royal concubine. How on earth did she bewitch the king so deeply? The story traces back to the reign of King Sunjo. Kim Gae-si was originally a court lady who shared the bed of King Sunjo,
the father of King Gwanghae. This is a clear historical fact, which later dealt a fatal moral blow to Gwanghae for taking his father's woman. However, surviving brutal political assassination since his time as crown prince, Gwanghae suffered from severe anxiety and paranoia. Trembling at the shadows of assassins every night, what he needed was not a young and beautiful body. Kim Gae-si struck exactly at this vulnerability. With her phenomenal insight in grasping the core needs of others, she demonstrated what we would call today perfect emotional intelligence. She soothed Gwanghae's trauma, cunningly editing and offering only the information he desperately wanted to hear. The king found his only solace not in the chambers of his beautiful queen or young concubines, but solely in the room of the aging Kim Gae-si. Once this astonishing psychological domination began, the unofficial power of the palace started trampling the official government system. Kim Gae-si conspired with E.I. Chom, the most powerful minister and leader of the dominant political faction. Without passing through Kim Gae-si, you cannot even cross the threshold of office. Corruption and the selling of government posts reached such extremes that these lamentations echoed through the court. As a shadow power dictated appointments, the anger of the noble scholars who valued Confucian order pierced the heavens. At this point, we must distinguish between folklore and history. Rumors spread in the streets that she poisoned the king using bizarre herbs or aphrodisiacs, but this is purely fiction invented by gossips to explain her unnatural monopoly of power. The tale of the night of the Injo Rebellion is also famous. When rebel forces rose up and their torches covered the capital, the story goes that Kim Gae-si blinded the king's judgment by saying, "Those are merely fireworks." This too is a dramatic folktale added for theatrical tension. However, the reason these fictional tales resonate so painfully is that they symbolically reveal how thoroughly she blinded the king with distorted information. When one's abilities are directed solely toward personal greed and maintaining power, the end is nothing but utter ruin. Immediately after the successful rebellion, Kim Gae-si, the shadow power of Joseon, was branded a wicked temptress and was the very first to be beheaded. This gruesome end is an undeniable historical fact, clearly recorded in the annals. It is the bitter end of a fox borrowing the tiger's majesty. In any era, shadow power that ignores official procedures ultimately destroys both the master and itself. This concludes today's fascinating tale. If you are curious about our next story, please press subscribe and like right now.